So, you have no idea where this Joe Foster is now?
No, I don't.
Look, there must be bars where sailors and people like that hang out.
Detective Mendez and I have already checked those places out.
Yeah. Nobody seems to recognize him.
Well, what about some sort of organization for sailors?
Yeah, it's the Maritime Union. We checked there, too. Nothing.
You know, I may be able to help you out there, Detective Donovan.
How's that?
Well, I feel fairly certain that this Joe's going to try and get in touch with me again.
And what makes you think that?
Well, the guy seems desperate for money.
Oh, he's desperate, all right. He wouldn't risk showing his face back here in Houston after what we've got on him.
Do you think there's a chance that this Joe Foster killed Chris Shaw?
Look, Mrs. Carrington, with all due respect, your husband has already confessed to murdering Chris Shaw.
That confession is worthless, Detective. The only reason he gave it was to save me.
Are you saying he was lying? That he wasn't in Shaw's office that night?
He was drunk. He had no idea what was going on. By the time Iris got there, he'd passed out.
Unfortunately, we only have his word for that. Besides, the case is out of my hands anyway. It's up to the DA to decide.
Wait a minute. This Joe Foster is a suspect now, isn't he?
The case involving Foster is only concerned with the killing of Bernie Stokes. And that is all.
But he could be involved in other things.
Maybe. But right now, my job is to catch him. And with your help, Mr. Parnell, I think I can do it.
What did you mean when you said you think you're the cause of it all? Things would have been much better for Dennis if I had encouraged him to go to the police right away, the way he wanted. Instead, I made him look like a fugitive.
But you weren't sure he murdered Mr. Shaw.
That's just the point. I was sure. I was sure the moment I saw that paperweight in Dennis's hand.
Mrs. Wheeler.
I don't blame you for looking at me like that, but, Vivian, all I could think of was protecting my son. I thought somehow, some way, I could prevent anyone from finding out. But I was wrong. I've been wrong about so many things.
You were just trying to protect Dennis. There's nothing wrong with that.
Oh, apparently there is. Alex thought so. Elliot thought so. My son refuses to see me anymore, and now Stryker.
Is that what you and Mr. Bellman were talking about?
Yes.
Well, what did Mr. Bellman have to say to you?
He was angry at me for something I did.
What?
I arranged a meeting between him and Paige to try and facilitate Dennis's divorce.
Mrs. Wheeler.
See? Even you think it's
Dennis
wrong.
loves Mrs. Carrington.
He loves what he thought Paige was. The real Paige was different, and I think Dennis sees that now.
I don't know if what Mrs. Page did in the past changes the way Dennis feels about her.
Of course it does.
Oh, I don't know. Would you stop loving Mr. Wheeler if you found out some terrible secret about his past?
Oh, Vivian, that is a foolish question.
I think I'd still love Rudy.
Rudy, Paige is the reason Dennis is in jail. Now that is an unquestionable fact. Her and her porno film and her dreadful friends. I just want to protect the people I love, and I will stop at nothing. If that's a crime, Vivian, I'm guilty. I'm guilty.
When'd you find that out, the possibility of Elena cutting another record?
Well, I got a call from Jeter this afternoon. He's in Nashville cutting another record with Bill Tullis.
Yeah?
And so it seems that he was talking to some of them record people and mentioned Elena, and they told him to call me up, set an appointment.
Hey! Did you tell Elena?
No, I haven't. I wanted to wait and check with you first. Because I want to make sure you're going to be all right if I'm going to leave you for a couple days.
I'm going to be fine.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. Besides, baby's not due for another 2 weeks.
Well, I know that, but what if Billy Joe Jr. is a little premature?
No, I had an appointment with Courtney just this afternoon. There's no sign that anything like that would happen. Besides, I feel fine.
Okay, but I want to give you my number at the hotel in Nashville. Mm-hmm. If you feel even the slightest bit funny, you call me up, you hear?
All right.
I'll be in touch.
Fine. If I'm not here, I always let the hotel switchboard know where I can be reached.
Good.
Thank you. better?
No.
Why? I thought you'd be glad that we had this.
What if he never comes back, Peter? What if we never see him again?
Well, I'm sure the police have ways of tracking down people like that.
You heard what they said. They've checked everywhere. Besides, what if he isn't the one who killed Chris? Heard what Detective Donovan said.
Look, don't worry. We'll cross that bridge when we find him.
I can't thank you enough for what you've done.
What have I done? Aside from not putting two and two together soon enough, for which, may I add, I still feel very stupid.
Important thing is that you did and that we called the police.
You know, I think you're going to have your husband back home again before you know it.
Yeah, and what then?
Then you live happily ever after. It's like in the books.
We must not read the same books. The books I've read, the women who've done what I've done always end up losing everything.
I don't think making a pornographic film is such a terrible thing. You've never forgiven me for getting you involved in that, have you?
Both made mistakes. Mine seemed to have cost me a little more, that's all.
I'm going to make it up to you, Paige. You'll see. Now, how about that dinner we were talking about?
Suddenly I'm not very hungry.
Fine. I will wait till later.
No, really. Sorry, Peter. Maybe some other time.
Sure.
You'll call me the minute that you hear from Joe Foster again, won't you?
I will.
Thank you again, Peter, for calling the police and taking care of everything. Goodbye.
Bye. You're right, Paige. I am taking care of everything. You just leave it all to me.